Welcome on stage. Enjoy.
Well, hello everybody. Woohoo! So glad to be here. I've been looking forward to coming to OMR and being with Markus, not just because it's such a very cool conference and so different to what we've been exposed to when you go to these e-commerce conferences, but also at Shopify, you get to choose out of the millions of customers we have, merchants, you get to choose your favorite customer or website. And for me, that's Westwing. So it's quite close to my heart in terms of how they approach innovation tech. So I'm glad to be here. Just with that, my name is Peyman. I'm the Field CTO at Shopify. I focus in the European region, and I've worked closely with Markus. Markus, do you want to introduce yourself, please, as well?
Yeah, moin Hamburg. My name is Markus. I'm a CTO at Westwing. I'm with Westwing now for roughly 3 years, and since the beginning of the year, I turned into my new role as a CTO. And I'm also quite excited to be here. I like the vibe of the OMR, this mixture of a conference and also a festival. That's also quite exciting to me. Talking about Westwing, I think there's one sentence that describes Westwing the best. Westwing is the place where beautiful living meets inspirational shopping. So what does that mean? I think what we do quite well at Westwing is the combination of inspiration together with commerce, like showing content and commerce. But also, let's get to some facts of Westwing. So since we've been founded in 2011, we have grown to the #1 in the premium home and living, generating roughly 440 million of GMV or sales. And we are present actually already in, they changed it, in 15 countries mainly across Europe. Yeah.
Just on that, I'm so glad the slides are updated because we're reviewing the slides, and as of 3 days ago, it was 14 stores. And then Markus told me just before this, it's actually 15 stores. We launched, where was it? Sweden.
We launched Sweden last week, so we're also proud that we now can launch a lot of new countries.
You guys are expanding more though, right?
We will expand more, yeah. You can look forward. I think the next country will already come this month. It will be Croatia. And also talking about our business model, so actually we combine two of them. So one is the one-stop shop for design lovers, and there we focus on a permanent assortment featuring the Westwing collection and the selected premium brands also of the home and living industry. And we also have these daily campaigns. Usually they're only available for a limited amount of time, and they're curated lists of products inspired by content. And with that, we want to excite, surprise, and of course also inspire our customers with some inspiration.
Yeah, you guys are big on inspiration, though. Lots of followers on Instagram, so social selling is quite big.
Yeah.
You guys have your apps on the website, so that's good to hear. Just keen, at some point a couple of years ago, you guys must have realized that you had to go through a digital transformation. So it'd be good for us to maybe share with the audience what triggered it, what was the moment you guys had to go to the board and go, actually, we need to take a pause, we need to look at our tech stack, and then also what included in that digital transformation? Clearly Shopify, but I think it was clearly more than that as well.
For us, I think it triggered 2022 because there was also a huge change within the retail industry. I think many companies were suffering. We saw it in the home and living industry. I think half of our competitors really got into stormy weather, so we were struggling with the situation. And we also did a lot of change within Westwing. For example, in 2023, we also combined Westwing Now, that was the former shop, and Westwing into one application. However, technically, the shop and also the campaign business was running on 2 different platforms, meaning twice the development effort. And also, of course, like anything we need to maintain, we also had twice the maintenance. So we had huge maintenance costs and also implementation costs. And we already saw that we need to combine it. We need to merge it into one platform to be much more efficient. So it was mainly about also cost and also speed, because also the development was not fast enough. Back then, we also explored in expanding into new countries, and then we saw that it would take up to 3 to 6 months to launch a new country. And of course, then you could, I mean, worst case, only can launch 2 countries per year. And now we are exploring many, many more countries would like to launch.
Just out of curiosity, how many countries have you guys actually expanded to in the past year or 2?
I mean, in the last 3 months, we already expanded into 3 more countries. So that was also quite impressive. So actually, we are now able to launch monthly into new countries. And before that, for a very long time, we haven't launched a new country at all because of the complexity, because of the situation, and it was a in-house built solution. It was very customized and so on. And when we asked the engineers, they said, well, I think we need to pause any other feature development for at least 3 months, and then it will take another 3 months to finally implement that. And that also triggered the change, because we said we need to gain more or less more speed on that. And also the main criteria where we said like how the next platform after that should look like. And maintainability and flexibility were 2 metrics we heavily looked into, because we wanted to optimize that. I mean, best case, we don't do any maintenance at all. I mean, that's the optimal scenario. However, we also wanted to keep the flexibility, because also Westwing has the 2 different business models, and of course, we also need to ensure that these business models still work.
And then, so just with that, Markus, actually, we'll go to the journey, because I know it's not always, you know, rainbows and butterflies in terms of just there are difficult parts to it as well.
Yeah.
It would be good to understand the journey of platform selection, what triggered to, you know, select Shopify or other platforms, and then the hard parts as well. Like, what would you change about it if you went back?
Let's start with the easier part, the selection part. I mean, the main criteria were, of course, cost. That was something we looked into. The functionality, of course, any solution we would need to provide the necessary functionality we already had before. I covered the maintainability part as well, so that was also a criteria. And also something we always look into whenever we work with any partner is the future potential. It's about how much do we believe that also this partner is either already #1 or is becoming #1 in that industry, because that's sometimes what you need as an enterprise brand, that you do the right bet. It's always this long-term commitment, because what I can tell you, you don't want to go through such a migration many times. It was really intense going through or talking about the journey. We managed to do it like in a year, which was for Westwing, it was insane, but of course, there were many obstacles. We had to go through many conversations. I think the project also turned into code red multiple times.
Yeah.
However, and this is also the mindset you need then from the people, that they quickly also solve the problems. And I think this is also, again, very important when you work with a partner, that the partner has a similar mindset in problem solving, in getting so that. Otherwise, you quite quickly also can get stuck, and that then causes serious delays also of your project, and this is something you want to avoid.
I know, but during that process, we became closer as well as kind of companies and teams as well, right? So your teams really collaborated with our teams and became, well, you know, one almost, right? Daily calls between Markus, we had yourselves talking with our VIP team. Just I think that was one thing that stood out, and then you had influence on our kind of product roadmap in terms of what you need as a kind of German-based large company, how we shape the product as well. It was quite keen. So that was one thing that influenced our journey, and I think it was quite unique to what we had. What would you change about it, looking back?
I think we were too fast. I mean, 1 year for a company like Westwing is insane, because we combined 2 business models into one. That was already challenging enough. And then also like launching all the countries. We had a great like vision and a great idea also how we want to approach the project, because we said we want to start small. So that's why we launched in a new country, and that worked pretty well. So we used Portugal as our first country to launch Westwing with. And then we said we wanted to scale smart. So any new country we want to launch, we want to see if the system is already ready. And that worked quite well. Yeah. However, like I think at the end, because it was close also to the year ending, we went too fast and decided to launch everything already in December. And I think there we should have spent a bit more time in fixing the course. which we actually do now, but now there was, of course, like some small parts that were also customer-facing. And this, since the customer is really also important to us, of course, that caused some friction. But overall, I think we did many things right, but there are always ways to improve.
I know you guys are big on user experience and the journey. So looking at your website, you'll go, it's performance, it looks beautiful. So that's part of your kind of digital teams that contribute to it in your photography. But how did you manage to get the performance so solid? You guys are headless, but talk about that decision. Why did you guys go that way? Would you do it again?
I definitely would do it again. I think, as you said, like that was also one of the reasons why we went headless. It's about the browsing performance and also browsing experience. In the home and living industry, it's very browsing heavy. So people want to explore the products. They're also shifting between the products, like back and forth. And of course, then they also expect fast-changing pages. So they want to clearly then also get to their products, but also then explore different options. And as I said, they want to go back and forth. And that's why we also spend a lot of time already in the beginning optimizing that performance.
So let's talk about optimization a little bit as well. Clearly, during launch, you guys were looking at how the website was performing, if the speed was not adequate. Were you guys making small tweaks as part of your kind of go live and hypercare?
Yeah, that was one part, but we also constantly also work together with the Shopify professional service. There's also a service really purely focused on the performance, I think, which we also then finally needed to get the best results. And now I'm super happy with it because it is, I think, even faster than the previous page, and there we spent years to get to these results. So that's why it's remarkable.
So just kind of go on to results. What has that kind of resulted in terms of tangible benefits for the business?
For the business, it's mainly that we can deliver features much faster. I mean, just to take an example, the example I had in the beginning about launching a new country, which took 3 to 6 months in the past, is now done in 4 weeks. And tech is not the limiting factor, right? So it's, of course, also all the processes around. And this is something we are really proud of. And the second one is, that was also the second criteria about costs. We could reduce like our total cost of ownership by 25%, which is also remarkable for a company like Westwing, that we are now cost efficient, but even much faster in development than before. And this combination really is, I think, then also the success story for the future, like continuing the Westwing story.
So that's quite interesting. How do your teams feel about that? So engineering teams clearly really want cool tech. So let's focus on how the engineering teams feel, but also how do your kind of digital teams, your e-commerce team, your marketing teams feel about that in terms of, clearly one side of the business obviously is happy because if I ask the finance person, they'll be like, yeah, I'm making more with less, spending less. But what about your engineering teams? Are they still doing cool tech, get to play with innovative stuff?
Of course, they also play around with a lot of innovative stuff. And since we're headless, I mean, also they're very proud of the technology they used. We used Shopify's hydrogen solution, so that's the headless front end. And of course, they are super proud of the results, right? They also see the same, the page. They also see that constantly evolving. And of course, we also use AI in the development process. But it's not only about that. It's also the entire ecosystem, like connecting other services with Shopify, or like with also our other products and services. That's also very interesting because that's then the part where we also see some efficiency gains long term.
In terms of you mentioned AI, as I'm sure everybody's heard of it by now, but like in terms of your actual practical examples of AI and using AI, what are you guys doing internally? And are there any plans for the future to expose things for the customers?
Currently, we're quite focused on efficiency, so that we make our internal processes more efficient with AI, and that works pretty well. So we use it for translations, also for product descriptions, because there was, I mean, you just need to imagine, like Westwing launches 1,000 products, or even more than 1,000 products a day. But you, of course, want to have really this storytelling-like product description. And for that, I think AI is very good, and we are investing a lot also to get that in the corporate identity of Westwing. But that's a big topic. The translation part is a big topic, and like the entire chain of product creation, or we call it SKU creation, to further optimize it, to be faster, to make it possible that we can easily launch these 1,000 products a day. That's what we are actually working on a lot at the moment. And for our customers, we are looking into opportunities, shopping assistance, like how they can easier shop or get even better recommendation. For now, it's a service, it's an additional service, it's a paid service they can use. That's also pretty good, but we also want to scale that and want to provide that to more people so that they can easily get these products. And of course, it's also about personalization. We want to bring also personalization to a next level. Again, combining these two business models even better than it is today. That's something we are looking into to continue, again, this experience or this inspired shopping. So that's what we also have as a mantra.
Just going to actually the future, you talked about personalization. In terms of what's on the roadmap, clearly more stores. Where are you guys launching again next month?
Yeah, I mean, we'll also launch, of course, like one store in Munich. That's already planned. That's what I can share. Also, Berlin will be, we will have like a store, and then we want to also be in more countries. So we'll expand in many more countries because we also see that this is smooth. There will many more countries in Europe will come like this year. That's our plan. And for that, mainly also now for the stores, not for the countries, we also want to improve the experience, like the customer experience, a lot. And we will also then use a new POS system. As you could imagine, it's Shopify's POS, but that's not like the only thing. It's also really about improving the in-store experience a lot. I mean, I don't know if anyone has seen the store in Jungfernstieg, Hamburg, here. It's already nice, but you can do much more. So we want to combine digital with our products to make it even a better experience.
I don't know if anybody has been to the stores. We've got the Westwing couch on our booth, Shopify booth. Nobody was coming to talk to us because we were sitting on it. I could see everybody just touching the couch and, going, where's that from? So I kept advertising Westwing in our booth. So it's interesting. Just focusing on Shopify POS, for example, right? And Westwing, have you guys seen any kind of synergy and efficiencies between having your platform online and then having your stores connected together with customer data, personalization, and so on?
This is something we are looking into. I mean, we are in the beginning of moving to also the POS system, but I think that's exactly what we expect also from like Shopify's POS, that the experience gets better, that the personalization gets better, and let's see what will come like with also the new POS.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, Markus. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers.